He caught the kid red-handed, spray paint still dripping from the can. Most people would have called the cops, but this Marine, he saw something no one else did. What happened next changed the boy's life forever. It started on a Monday morning. Gunnery. Sergeant Richard Hale had parked his old Ford F-150 just outside the corner store, like he did every morning on his way to the VA center. The truck wasn't flashy, rust lined the wheel arches, and the Marine Corps' bumper sticker had faded from years under the sun, but it was his. He'd bought it the week after returning from Afghanistan. To him, it wasn't just transportation, it was a symbol of survival. That morning, though, something was different. As he stepped out of the store with his usual black coffee and protein bar, he saw it. Red spray paint streaked across the driver's side, "Baby Killer" underneath it, a crude drawing of a gun with an X over it. People stared, some shook their heads, others whispered. But Richard, he didn't move. His face didn't change. He simply stared at the words, silent and still, like he was watching a ghost walk out of a memory. He didn't call the police. He didn't get angry. He just got in and drove off. 3 days later, the vandal was caught. 14-year-old Marcus Bell. Black hoodie, baggy jeans, a face that had learned to scowl before it learned to smile. His mother was mortified. She tried to drag him by the ear to apologize, but Richard stopped her at the door. "Let me talk to him," Richard said. She hesitated but stepped back. Richard led the boy to the garage, where the truck now sat clean, every trace of paint scrubbed off with elbow grease and patience. "I know why you did it," he said without turning around. Marcus blinked. "No, you don't. You think I signed up to kill," Richard said, "because that's what some people told you." Marcus didn't answer. Richard reached into a drawer and pulled out a showbox. Inside were pictures, faces of children, smiling, laughing, some with prosthetic limbs, some with bandages, some standing beside a younger Richard in uniform. "I didn't kill kids," Richard said. "I helped save them. I pulled a little girl out of rubble after a drone strike missed its mark. I taught schoolboys how to build wells in Kandahar. I got shot because I refused to fire on a crowd that had kids in it." He paused. "And I know your dad never came back from Iraq. I read the report." Marcus's posture crumbled. Tears welled up, but he wiped them away before they could fall. "He died for nothing." "No," Richard said gently. "He died hoping his son would have something better, not to end up on the streets tagging a stranger's truck." Marcus looked away. Then Richard did something no one expected. He reached over and handed the boy a wrench. "I need help. You break something. You help fix something. Come by after school, every day, no excuses." For weeks, Marcus showed up, silent at first, grumbling, but slowly something shifted. The grease under his fingernails started to mean something. He learned how to rotate tires, change oil, fix a transmission. He learned about responsibility, respect. He heard stories not of glory or medals but of failure, fear, choices, and consequences, the kind that make a man or break him. And one day, he stayed longer than usual. "Why didn't you press charges?" he finally asked. Richard shrugged. "Because someone saw something broken in me once and helped me fix it." 2 years later, Marcus stood on a small stage wearing a clean mechanic's uniform embroidered with Bell and Hale Auto. His mother cried in the front row. Richard stood beside him, his old Marine hat tucked under his arm. Marcus was graduating from a vocational youth program, top of his class. The mayor shook his hand. Cameras flashed, but Marcus only looked at one man, and when they embraced, it wasn't student and mentor. It was father and son in every way that mattered. What Richard gave Marcus wasn't punishment. It was belief. And that changed everything. Marcus's story didn't go viral. There were no trending hashtags, no breaking news, but in the quiet corners of their town, something started to shift. Kids who used to cut class watched Marcus roll down the block in a beat-up tow truck, music low, windows open, nodding respectfully at every passerby. Some of them even followed him to the garage, not to work, at first just to hang around, watch, listen. Then came Malik, another kid from Marcus's neighborhood. One night, he showed up with busted knuckles and a busted bike. "You Fix engines, right? Marcus didn't say much. He didn't need to. He pointed to the bench, handed Malik a rag, and showed him how to twist a wrench without breaking something or yourself. Soon, the garage had regulars, kids with nowhere to go, drawn to the quiet authority of Marcus Bell and the calm strength of Gunnery Sergeant Hale. People started calling it the Second Chance Garage. One rainy evening, Richard and Marcus sat under the metal awning, sharing a thermos of black coffee. "You know," Marcus said, "I almost didn't show up that first week. Thought you were gonna beat me up or make me scrub tires with a toothbrush. Or something." Richard chuckled. "You think I'd waste a good toothbrush like that?" They laughed. But then Marcus turned serious. "I didn't hate you," he said. "I hated what I thought you were. I hated what they said my dad became. I blamed the uniform, the war, everything. It was easier than facing the truth." Richard nodded, eyes distant. "Anger's a shield. Pain hides behind it. You ever get tired of carrying it?" "All the time," Richard said. "But that's why we pass it on." The lessons. Years passed. Marcus took over more and more of the shop. Richard started to step back, not because he couldn't keep up, but because he believed in letting new roots grow. Then one morning, Richard didn't show up. Marcus found him in his apartment, sitting peacefully in his favorite chair. The old Marine had passed in his sleep, clutching a photo of his unit in one hand and a framed picture of Marcus in the other. The funeral was quiet, but packed. Veterans stood shoulder to shoulder with teenagers in shop coveralls. A group of kids Richard had never met, all touched by the ripple of his grace, showed up too. "Pay respects." Marcus spoke last. "My name is Marcus Bell. I'm here because a man looked past my worst moment and saw something worth saving." He reached into his jacket and pulled out something. It was the same wrench Richard had handed him years ago, now polished and engraved. "Fix more than you break." After the service, Marcus walked back to the garage. The sign outside had already been changed. Hale and Bell. Second Chance Garage, but beneath it, someone had spray-painted something small. Red paint, this time, not in anger, just 2 words: "Thank you." And so, a boy who once vandalized a truck became the man who restored lives, one broken thing at a time. Because one Marine didn't raise his voice or his fist, he raised a future. Years later, when people asked Marcus how his life turned around, he never talked about punishment. He didn't blame his past. He didn't romanticize struggle. He just said one thing: "A man gave me a tool instead of a sentence." And that tool, both literal and symbolic, built something far greater than engines or cars. It built trust, responsibility, hope. The Second Chance Garage became more than a place to fix vehicles. It became a sanctuary, a rite of passage, a living legacy of what happens when someone chooses compassion over condemnation. Veterans taught troubled teens how to rebuild carburetors and their character. Young men and women left that garage with grease on their hands and purpose in their hearts. And every new recruit heard the same words etched above the door: "Fix more than you break." Because one boy once broke something, and one Marine, instead of breaking him back, built him up. That's how a truck became a turning point, and how love, disguised as discipline, saved a life. Because sometimes the greatest strength is mercy, and sometimes the toughest soldier just hands you a wrench and dares you to become more.